Here's how to keep your line moving without getting in the weeds. We've been operating a pretty high volume specialty coffee shop in Alpharetta, Georgia since 2019. We have steadily gotten busier, and that comes with good problems, bad problems. One of our good problems is we have a line, right? And there's a couple things you can do with that. You can work through it as fast as you can, but in the specialty coffee industry, we're trying to make meaningful connections, amazing drinks, and just moments of delight. But often, because we're bringing on people, and myself included, we want to create that special interaction with a guest. Sometimes that can make a bottleneck at our point of sale, or what we call our concierge position. That makes the line back up, and honestly, that makes people leave, because if they don't see a line moving, a lot of times people don't have time to wait in a long line.
And just to drive the point home, this is a good problem. It means that you have a team of people that's excited to talk to your guests, but sometimes those conversations can go too long when you're asking guests how their day is, updates on their life. Especially regulars, you can go real deep on a conversation real quick, and you know that if you've worked in a coffee shop. So to bring some more clarity to this in our context, what are some of the positions we have behind the bar?
Right, so typically on a weekday where we're seeing about 275 transactions a day, a lot of times there's just 3 people behind the bar. So those 3 positions are your concierge, which is your point of sale, who's taking orders, mostly doing a lot of the talking with the guest, and then kind of transitioning them to wait on their drink. The next position would be brewer. That's kind of the most mobile position. They're mostly starting drinks, so whether that's getting teas ready, espresso, matcha, they're setting up the next person to finish the drinks. And that person is expo. So expo is kind of looking out for everything leaving the space. So all orders go through expo, and all orders come in through concierge.
Right, so really it's a question of pacing. The speed of input in your orders, and then the speed of output. So how quickly are the orders coming through versus how quickly are the drinks actually being made?
And on the weekends, a lot of times we'll have more like 4 or 5 people to help with the volume, because we can see tickets, average transactions of 325 to 350. So there's a little bit more volume in the space, and we'll have support positions, and this helps us out a lot. So one support position would be primarily for expo and brewer, called bar support. So they're doing a lot of restocking, a lot of dishes, and some running. And then you have concierge support. So they're doing food, getting drip coffee, draft drinks like cold brew. They're basically the hands and the feet of concierge. Because when you think about it, if concierge is the only way drinks are coming in, and expo is the only way drinks are coming out, you want to make sure there's someone standing in that position as much as possible.
So we've kind of laid out the problem of pacing. A few ways we've seen this improved over the years is, one, if you are designing your space from scratch, consider installing 2 points of sale as opposed to 1. And you've seen this in fast food restaurants or wherever, where they have 2 registers. And what that effectively does is just double your intake of orders if you need it. Whenever it's busier, that's usually when you would employ both points of sale. But if you have a smaller space, or you're already in operation like us, what we've done is just kept our main point of sale. But then, like we use Square for our POS, and they have these little handheld tablets that you can take through the line, and when needed, take it through the line and pick people off, like just, take their order. And what that does is it basically doubles the intake of orders that are coming through your space. Now, sometimes that can create a problem with too much orders, so we sort of use it sparingly. For example, if you were on brewer and you didn't really have any drinks to make, and you see a long line form, that brewer could take that point of sale and just pick off a few people and then go back to their position once they feel like they have enough orders coming through.
Yeah, and that's something that we've really found that we care about more and more as time goes by, is that the experience someone has from the moment they walk into the space, it matters. So with whether they're waiting in line, waiting on their drink, talking to concierge, how are we meeting them with delight, with empathy, with care? And for so long, we didn't really consider the line. It's like, hey, people are going to come, they're just going to have to wait. But our good friend and partner Riley was sharing about his last time we went to Disney World. They've thought about this too, and they're starting to bring the ride to the line before you get to the front. And so how we're taking that with coffee is how do we bring the experience to somebody while they wait in line? And there's a lot of ways to do that. It's as easy as acknowledgement, seeing somebody, welcoming them into your space. If you have that support role, you could do things like handing out waters, handing out small cups of drip, just to get something in someone's hand. We often talk about how a guest is like a guest, whether they're in the cafe or at your home. So what would you do if a guest comes to your home? You get them a drink, you get them something to have in their hands, and you say, hey, we're glad you're here. Because the reality is, if anybody's leaving your cafe because the line's not moving, typically a part of that is that they haven't even been acknowledged yet. So the moment someone's acknowledged, they at least know, hey, I'm here, I matter to them, and I know it's gonna get moving. Something I was thinking about was, it's just like traffic. So if you're in traffic, the most frustrating traffic is when nothing is happening, when nothing's moving. Say it's 3 cars, but nobody's moving. That's a lot worse than 30 cars, but you have that, okay, at least I'm going 10 miles an hour.
That's ATL.
That's ATL. We know about this. So think about if you're in line at a cafe, what can be the most frustrating is someone having a long conversation right in front of you versus 30 people back. But hey, I'm moving along and I see them come in with water, with coffee, with another point of sale. These people are aware about this line and they're doing everything they can to keep it moving.
Right. This is just like in a restaurant. This is why they have a host stand. The host knows how many seats they have in their restaurant, and they know the capacity of the kitchen. The capacity of the kitchen has to be matched with how many seats are in the restaurant. And so that's why, you have a wait in the restaurant. But in a coffee shop, there's really no limit to the amount of orders that you can push through, right? You could just crank through a line as quickly as possible and then overwhelm your kitchen or your expo. So pacing is just being able to craft your whole experience and understand the capacity of both sides.
And so that transitions well to bottlenecks, because that's the reality is wherever you're having the hardest time of getting either drinks in or drinks out, that's the area of tension. And so those are the 2 areas we need to be looking at is concierge. Are we able to get enough drinks and orders to keep our whole team activated? Because that is what really, at the end of the day, frustrates a guest is the line is not moving very fast and it doesn't look like people are really doing much behind the bar.
Right.
And so these bottlenecks can typically come from a long interaction that just could be a nice conversation, or maybe someone's new and they need to run through everything about the menu. But this is a space where that other point of sale can really come in handy, and just simple, honest verbiage of, hey, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm actually gonna pass you along so that you can keep talking to our team while I take care of these guests. Because that's something that we tell our team is, when you're making drinks, you can talk to a guest as well, but you can only take 1 order at a time.
Right. And to add to that, when we first opened, we didn't have an overhead menu. It was a little paper menu just on the counter. And we also didn't have the QR menus, right? So when someone was in line, they maybe knew what they wanted just because they've been to other coffee shops. But having the overhead menu to look at while the whole time they're in line, by the time they get to the register, they more or less know what they want. So that was another unnecessary time suck at register that we were able to avoid by just getting more information in their brains before they stepped up to the register. So let's say your input is good, but on the output side of things, if you have a ton of orders coming in and your output just isn't there, a few things you can do to help with that is, one, we rely really heavily on a kitchen display,
yes,
which is just a little tablet that's connected to our Square POS. Every order that comes through the POS goes on this kitchen display, and when the order comes in, it's green colored. Whenever it's reached 2 minutes old, it goes yellow, and then past 5 minutes is red. So it's just a way to see all the details of the order, but also to know the age of the order. And just a real quick note, a really big mentality shift for us was, we spend so much time looking at the kitchen display after we have someone's order, but we should sort of have the same mentality for when people join the line. Let's pretend a drink comes in, we haven't got to it yet, it goes, past 5 minutes, it's red. We should apply that same color coding age system to people in line. Let's say someone just joins the line, they're green, right? They've just walked into the space, they're enjoying it, their patience is at an all-time high. But the longer they just watch people have conversations at the register or watch employees not work to their full capacity, they start to go yellow, they start to go red. And so more ways to increase your output. I would say activating the team around you has a lot to do with it. And that's where these support positions come in for us, especially on high volume weekends. If someone's at Expo, then they should just be stuck to that position. They should not be walking around looking for people, like, where's Frank? Where's Frank? He's in the bathroom. You've spent 3 minutes just looking for Frank. But if you have a support, that's something you can delegate to them so that you can just keep your butt right there making drinks.
Yeah, and there's something to being flexible with your schedule, because you have to ask a big question is, how much money am I leaving on the table by not having enough people here? Because we say everybody thinks about the weekends, prep for the weekends, prep for the weekends, but that morning rush can be intense. And if people start realizing time and time again that they can't get in and out in a proper time, they're not going to come back. But all it takes is maybe one extra person coming in even just earlier to their already scheduled shift to really help work through that volume that you have at those peak times. Another huge thing is making sure that everybody in your team is cross-trained so they know how to step into roles when need be, and that they can go above their assigned role at any moment. Because our brewer at the end of the day is just supposed to be starting drinks for Expo, getting shots, getting matcha. But say they've already done that, a lot of times you can just kick back and relax and say, well, now it's your time to do your part of the job. But if that person is skilled at latte art and drink creation, they should start picking off orders on the kitchen display system to help that Expo get through their rush.
Right.
Pacing is not just about getting your guests in and out. It's about seeing everyone in the space as an individual with their own story, trying to get in and trying to get out in good time. Because we can really lock in on one person right in front of us and start to neglect the whole cafe around us. We have a service philosophy called Eyes Up. And that's something we really want to encourage our team members in, is having a view of everyone. And that means everyone waiting on their drinks and everybody in line and everybody even sitting down hanging out. We also call our team the pit crew. And so the idea is that our guests are like NASCAR drivers coming into our space. And when they come in, we want to be doing everything with speed and precision to get them situated, get them taken care of, and send them out on their way.
All right, hopefully this was helpful to you. If it was, then hit that subscribe button, like the video, maybe comment below the name of your cafe. Thanks so much for joining.